Hi, Simka.
Hey there, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just renaming myself. Go. Did you
What?
get scared of the tornado? Any tornadoes or?
I got home and then I like took shower because I was so hot on my way
I
home. It was like I was
know.
like a puddle. And then I was like, all right, let's take the dogs for a walk. And we like got out and we drove them to the spot and got out and the sky just got like green and just like opened up like deluge, like total saturation, in that first 5 minutes. I was like, oh.
Okay.
So yeah, that was it. But I didn't. And then we just had some thunder. Did you guys get a lot of storms?
No, we got a lot of thunder and lightning, not until like 8 or 9 o'clock. And like some pretty hard rain. And it was definitely windy, but not like it wasn't like a storm or anything.
Yeah, it was perfect. We needed it. We hadn't had rain
Yeah,
and
it hadn't rained
so
and
I was so happy. My garden like exploded today. Everything
oh,
is
nice.
this high. Our peas are like so high. All of our greens are coming up. So yeah, so it was perfect. The combination with that rain and sun today.
That's great. Yeah, today is gorgeous. Well, now it's about to get like kind of nasty just in time for the long weekend, which is
Oh, what's it gonna do?
it's supposed to be like in the low 50s and rainy.
Oh no, I just put all these vegetables out. Oh no. Really?
Yeah.
This is a very hard season to garden in.
Yes.
It's like 40 at night and then 100 in the day.
Yeah. They're my community garden plot. It's on like a bike path that's the land is owned by the state. And they're doing they found like a leak in some sort of pipe underground and they've turned off all the water.
Oh no.
Like a
Oh,
week ago, like right before the heat wave.
oh, so you gotta like bring
I'm
your own
carrying
water.
like a 5 gallon bucket of, it's not fun. Yeah.
How big is your plot? Is it like a 10 by 10 or?
Yeah, it's probably about that.
Yeah,
Something like that.
nice. And there are a lot of people.
No, it's not a very big garden. This bike path has like gardens every couple blocks, but there's probably 10 plots. Something like that.
Very cool.
Yeah. Hey everyone who's joining, thanks so much. We've got a number of people registered, so just be letting people keep jumping on and we'll get started just after 3. Hey Ellen, glad to see you got on and let me know if you have any tech questions.
When it goes to sharing the screen, I definitely will.
If you just have your PowerPoint.
I've never done that before. I've never done that before.
Okay. If you just have the PowerPoint open,
which I do,
it should like and on the forefront of your screen. I think it should be good. You could also email me the PowerPoint just as backup if you want. So I have it in case anything.
Okay. I'll do that now.
Great. And just want to let people know we are recording this session so that we can make it available to folks who aren't able to join us live. So yeah, feel free to leave your video on or off, whatever you're comfortable with. And Ellen, if you're more comfortable with me just sharing my screen and you talk over the slides, I'm happy to do that too. I just open them, it looks good. So whatever you prefer.
That works for me because I mean the slides are kind of my prompt for my talking points. If that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you don't need to do any screen sharing. I'll just keep sharing my screen and I'll pull up your slides and you can start talking.
And should I say next slide, or you just want to kind of?
I'll try and figure it out, but if I don't, just prompt me.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Simka.
Yeah. And if people are interested in doing so, we just invite you to feel free to change your name to also include if you have like a school district affiliation or organizational affiliation you'd like to share. You're also welcome to introduce yourself in the chat to the larger group. And we'll just give it another minute or so before we get started. Great. Well, why don't we get started, and some additional folks may join in, but want to welcome everyone here today to our Harvest of the Month 101 session. My name is Simka Horwitz, and I'm the co-director at Massachusetts Farm to School. I'll be helping moderate this session. I'm fortunate to have my two colleagues here with me. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? Sharissa, want to go ahead?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharissa Zapata Walker, and I'm the program manager here. And I'll be going through some of the slides and talking about Harvest of the Month 101 with you. So I'm excited to share this information. Thank you.
Great.
Hi, I'm Dinah Mack. I am a project specialist doing some curriculum with Harvest of the Month, and I'm excited to be here.
Great. So the goal for today is really to provide an overview of what the Harvest of the Month program is, and give you some examples from schools that have participated in past years that can hopefully inspire you moving forward. And we should have some time as well for question and answer if you have any lingering questions about the program. And as I mentioned, we are recording this session, and I'm going to turn it over to Sharissa to kick us off, and I will share my screen in just a second. Okay, great.
Thank you. So so today we're just going to talk a little bit of what Harvest of the Month is. So it is a great opportunity to celebrate local abundance, experiment with new foods and recipes, and get new positive recognition for your school. The program's goal is to encourage healthy food choices by increasing students' exposure to seasonal foods while also supporting local farmers and building excitement about school meals. So what to expect? So if you're a K-12 school, a preschool, a college, a university, or a hospital, what you can expect what we would want you to do is to source locally and menu feature the Harvest of the Month crops at least twice per month in all participating cafeterias. We would also like you to utilize promotional materials, including our beautiful Harvest of the Month posters, trading cards, and I Tried It stickers each month. We want you to share your experiences with Mass Farm to School in our community. And specifically for K-12 and preschools, we want you to identify and provide contact information for our District Harvest of the Month team and connect with others in your school community about Harvest of the Month opportunities at home and in the classroom. And what you can expect from us at Mass Farm to School is that we will provide individualized technical assistance for sourcing the Harvest of the Month foods from local farms. Mail Harvest of the Month materials, including posters, trading cards, and stickers for each featured food for display and distribution in each participating school. We would also provide free downloadable promotional and educational materials for your use, including press release templates, monthly Harvest of the Month newsletters, and recipes. We will also provide resources for curricular connectors and home activities, including curriculum associated with all crops, home scale recipes, nutrition information, arts and crafts, taste testing activities, and more. And so we have a couple of pictures of what our materials actually look like. So those are menu templates in our trading card and stickers. And then we also here, you can see it's a home scale recipe card, as well as a kind of an example of what a family newsletter would look like. And what's really exciting is that this year we're expanding our Harvest of the Month program to give people more flexibility, resources, and options to bring fresh and seasonally relevant food to the schools and make stronger classroom connections. So our 7 new crops are cranberry, corn, dried beans, collards, cabbage, herbs, and salad greens. We're also going to have a new and improved selection of K through 6 lessons with activity extensions, crop history, reading suggestions, and a Meet the Farmer section. We'll also have an interactive map to support student learning about geography and history of the foods we eat and celebrate. And what's even great about all of this is that we translate the family newsletters into 5 additional languages. And so if you want more information about joining the program, you could go to our website, and all of the information will be there. You can take the pledge to agree to source locally, serve and promote the featured foods. And also, if anyone wants free lesson plans and other resources associated with the program, even if the food service department isn't ready to participate, you can contact us and we can share some of those materials. And on our website, there's also a ton of resources that you can tap into.
Great, thanks, Teresa. Yeah, we're really excited this year to be under Dinah's leadership, really be expanding the resources for educators to participate in the program. So a lot of those materials are still in development, but will be ready for the start of the school year. And we have made live the sign up for this next school year and anticipate for those people who do sign up over the summer to be mailing out any printed materials in late August so that you have it for the start of the school year. And we know there's still, a ton of uncertainty about what the next school year brings, and understand that you may not know if you want printed materials at this point, and that's okay. But we will do additional fulfillment of those printed materials in the fall for those who kind of missed that sign up window in the summer. And there are a really large number of materials that in this past year we've really adapted to be digital and also downloadable, so that if you wanted to do some printing in your own school, you could do that as well. So a lot more flexibility than we may have offered in past years. And so I just want to, before I turn it over to Ellen to share a little bit about her experience implementing the program in Webster, just want to mention that we have put together a number of profiles of how different school districts around the state have participated in Harvest of the Month in past years. So again, you can find those on our website at massfarmerschool.org/HOTM for Harvest of the Month, and read those different profiles, see some of the photos of the exciting ways that people are promoting local foods. This is just a couple examples, and I think some of these may even be from some of the districts that are on the call with us today. And one of those that she wasn't able to join us, but I just want to mention an interesting example from the North Attleboro School District, where under the real leadership of the school nutrition department, they've made a lot of connections to the classroom environment. So they've been sourcing local foods, both from traditional produce distributors, but also from a regional food hub called Farm Fresh Rhode Island. And using that procurement mechanism, putting together what they call harvest boxes to distribute to participating classrooms that are interested in doing some sort of related activity in the classroom, featuring whatever is being highlighted in the cafeteria that month. So the teachers who sign up to participate each receive this box. It has, if it's carrot month, they'll be getting carrots to do taste testing with their students, as well as the sort of activity or curriculum that's aligned with that month's crop. And we developed this little classroom kit, which we can share out this slideshow for folks who are interested, but it's basically like a how-to guide of how they put together that Harvest Box program and engage teachers. And I think it's a really interesting model for other places where there's real leadership from the school nutrition department and a commitment to local sourcing and an interest in connecting more with classrooms. And the sort of advice and challenges that they found were really that it was helpful to use Harvest of the Month to guide their purchasing and menu planning decisions, but also to be really flexible and kind of open-ended in how they were writing menus to allow for incorporating those harvest items and still having sort of the most flexible, flexibly written menu to support incorporation of those different crops. And so just a couple other photos of one district did a really cool classroom like plant part activity, again highlighting whatever was being featured that month. And so some pictures of kids who are doing a classroom-based taste testing. So this is why we really encourage people to be putting together an interdisciplinary team to implement the program so that it doesn't all fall on, for example, the school nutrition department, but you really do have support from others within the school environment who are going to help make sure that there's excitement from students, that families know about what's happening in the cafeteria, and a real connection to what kids are learning in the classroom. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ellen Nyland, who's the Director of School Nutrition in the Webster Public Schools, to share a little bit about what they have done in Webster. So I will pull up your slides, Ellen, just one second.
Thank you.
Great. And take it away, Ellen.
Okay. If this is a little bumpy, everyone, it's the first time I've done like this share your screen thing. So Simca's going to do that. And I'm going to use this as my talking points and just ask Simca to advance. So in Webster, we've been doing Harvest of the Month since I started here, which was 2016. And I recognize that, my background is a chef, so I came in very comfortable with the logistics of, how do we do this in the kitchen? So I understand that that's not something that, Harvest of the Month, farm to school people come from all kinds of disciplines. So in our district, it started out in the cafeteria and that's where it remains. I was lucky enough to partner with a business marketing teacher, Marianne Hainig, who could not be here today, unfortunately, who just, even myself, that is not the teacher, the discipline that I would have imagined at first, I would have partnered in for farm to school, but it has really worked out well because, first of all, it's a very rigorous program for her marketing students. They're fulfilling a lot of credits for their classes by participating in Harvest of the Month. It's mostly organizing events, so it's not like a extra credit thing for them. It's something that they actually have to work at for their grade. So I think that's kind of what we're looking for in terms of the classroom connection. And then the Bartlett High School Farm to School team is the business marketing students that are participating that year. It's typically juniors and seniors, and it's typically about 15 students. So I'm going to start, thank you, Simca. I'm going to start with pre-COVID, and then COVID, we managed to do one Harvest of the Month virtual celebration a month ago. So I'm going to end with that. So pre-COVID, the students they come up, I visit the classroom, I let them know what the Harvest of the Month item is, and they do all the brainstorming from there. And they come up with things that I never would have imagined. If you want to go to the next slide, Simca. So for this one, which was dairy, which is tricky to do because cheese is very expensive, we really did have a sort of wine and cheese, although obviously not wine. And we had the jazz band play. So it just a really nice atmosphere in the cafeteria. And a lot of times I find with school food, we're so technical about nutrition and we forget about the part about enjoying it. And so that's what we do with the Harvest of the Month promotions in the cafeteria. That's really what we try to do in the high school. And this was really, really wonderful having the jazz band play at both lunches while we had our promotion. So next slide, Simca. So these are 2019. The posters are created by a student in the marketing class. Interesting because I chose two. This young lady who created these was a graphic designer, and the young lady that came after her was an illustrator, which was really interesting. So the promotion was very different. This young lady was very polished and digital. And you'll see in the next two slides, the next student that came along was a totally different approach. So this is a case we try in our promotions to do something that's going to become a menu item. So in this case, total success. We did a baked potato bar as a promotion, and now it's been on the menu for 2 or 3 years now, and always a good seller. So the kids set up in the cafeteria, and we serve both lunches, and we hit, I would say, every student in the cafeteria. So the participation is really, really good. And Mrs. Hainig does a whole, this is baked potato bar as well. Between she and I, we design a little classroom lesson, she does a quiz. She usually gives out prizes to her students for whoever, retains the most information. So it's all tied to classroom in the business marketing classes as well. Next slide. Blind taste tests are always popular, always fun. That's just an example. This is just a little, some of this is lifted from the presentation that we did at the Mass Farm to School Conference, which must have been 2019, I think, where the students actually presented. So this is just to show the difference between our sort of graphic designer artist and then our illustrator artist who came along the next year. So you can go to the next one, Simca. Oh, well, maybe not. Okay. Not sure what happened to this slide. Sorry, guys. So what happened is I basically drive what the promotion is going to be. I recruit a couple cafeteria workers to help me, but the kids do all the setup in the cafeteria. So in the beginning, I did the prep with a couple cafeteria workers, whoever I could pull. I'm not compensating them. I'm talking to the cafeteria manager saying, hey, do you have an hour? And can I have somebody for an hour and a half to prep, on this day, blah, blah, blah. So then we started bringing students into prep, and which was really popular, which I was thrilled. And it turned into, basically an after school cooking class, which is something that, of course, I want to explore more. So this is after school, typically the day before the cafeteria event, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we typically get a crew of, I don't know, 6 to 7 students, something like that. So here they are making candy apples, which I would not recommend, by the way. The kids always want to make sweets. That in and of itself is an interesting exercise with the kids, because now I have them, they suggest the recipes to me. And sometimes I'll have to kick it back to them and say, look, the goal of this is something that we can put on the menu, and there's no way that I'm putting avocado on the menu. It's just too time consuming. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put fresh mango on the menu regularly. It's just not something that we can, reasonably process. So then, they'll have to, they learn that side of kind of logistics and procurement. And since their class is a business oriented class, it is along that kind of small business thinking, logistics. So we have some interesting discussions in there about what they can and can't do in their promotions. So that's what we do in a typical year. And we do those once a month at the high school. I did want to cover, we do them at the middle school. Cafeteria does them as well. And this is of course not the only time we serve local produce. This is just what the promotions are. The middle school, I haven't been able to develop a team there. And the elementary school, logistically, it's nearly impossible because pre-COVID, there are 900 students in that elementary school. So just when those kids sit down in their cafeteria, they're like in jail. You know, they can't move, they can't get up, there's no way to do a promotion like this at the elementary school. We did it once, and I had to have the principal in there on the microphone with, you know, letting kids get up and down from their chairs. So that's why we've kind of concentrated in the high school. Just, you know, there are logistics and specific things associated with every school, and it's got to be a different model in the other schools, basically. Okay, so now we come to COVID. Mrs. Hainig and I started talking back in, I don't know, November, about could we squeeze in a farm to school, like a Zoom cooking class, because the cooking classes, the prep had become so popular. So we managed to pull it off in April, which I can't believe it took us that long, but it did. So which was potatoes, correct? Correct. We did it in April with potatoes. And we actually did roasted red potatoes, which we serve in the cafeteria, and the chili roasted sweet potato wedges, which we don't serve because I'm sure many of you may have, you know, been through the same issues. I've discussed this with Simca many times. Sweet potatoes are difficult to process. And so far, I don't have a place that processes them the way I want them, which is a steak cut fry with the skin on. So until we start processing them ourselves outside of the school day, which is potentially in the works, we won't be putting those on the menu. I also chose these because they're extremely simple, and you know, my own personal beef is that cooking has been sort of elevated to something you have to go to school for. There are all these TV chefs. It's very complicated, recipe driven, and I chose something that's a very simple technique that my cafeteria staff has easily adapted to, which is roasting vegetables, and that the students could see. This is a very simple technique that you can apply to a lot of vegetables. So if you want to go to the next slide, Simca, I think it's the kids' work, the students' work. They did a really good job. Now, Mrs. Haining and I did this from my kitchen. We did not record the presentation. We thought we did, and I thought I was going to show you clips today. So I apologize for that. But we did have the students send in photos. And I was really pleased that just little, you know, things like they really let the potatoes brown. They did a good job on the spices and stuff like that. The next slide should be the two sauces that we made. Right, so we made a honey mustard and a sriracha mayo. And again, I always have in mind something I could put on the menu, which sriracha mayo we use all the time in the cafeteria. But also with this, I emphasize to them that these are things that if you're making them at home, there's very few ingredients. If you buy them, it's got an ingredient list with a lot of other stuff that you don't know what they are, basically. And then the next slide, Simca, I think is more student work. So there was a fair bit of organizing for this. I had some grant money hanging around. So we had 12 students. So I bought a basic, you know, culinary tools package. I hired a cafeteria worker to package those up in a box. And I purchased the potatoes through the Food Hub, Worcester Food Hub. And we pre-portioned a lot of stuff. I didn't really want them to waste time in class measuring things. So we pre-portioned spices, mayonnaise, lemon juice, stuff like that. And the students came and picked up a box. At school, they had to sign out the tools. We did not include a chef knife in there. They had to let us know that they had a knife at home. And then they returned the cooking tools after that. It was really fun. It was really successful. I'm really sorry that I can't show you the video. Just judging by their feedback and also how well they did, I was really, really pleased, and Mrs. Hainig was too. I mean, of course, I hope in the future we're doing this in person, but you know, now I know that it can be successful on Zoom as well. I don't know if any of you have seen any of the Project Bread videos that Chef Sam and Vanessa do, but they've developed a really nice kind of visual style for doing these simple cooking recipes for students. So I could take a lot of tips from them. So shout out to the Project Bread chefs for making their stuff look good. And I think the last slide, Simca, to me, Harvest of the Month is part of a farm to school approach to school food service. So I kind of just wanted to put it in context of the other things that we do here. As Simca knows, I'm waiting on pins and needles to see if I receive this USDA Farm to School grant, which will allow us to really expand. But these are kind of what I have listed here is what's underway here and kind of in Webster and kind of the principles, the farm to school principles in the district. And I see that Harvest of the Month is an integral part of that and kind of like a gateway, a very good way for people to start because of the support from Mass Farm to School, because of the recipes, because of the newsletter, because of the printed materials. You know, it can be as seldom as once a month, so it's not overwhelming, like how the heck do I do this? So I think that's the real value of Farm to School, is it's a really nice gateway for people who are just starting their kind of farm to school program. And that is what I have.
I'm going to stop the screen share and just open it up. So also if people have questions for Ellen, that you can ask those now.
Ellen, I have a question. I love this idea. This is Dinah from Mass Farms.
Hey, Dinah.
So the school that I work at we've been doing some Zoom cooking, but people have to get their own ingredients, which is obviously can be an equity issue if families can't get to the store, et cetera. So could you talk more about how you send the food with kids, or how they could bring it from school home?
Sure. I mean, I should emphasize that we're really lucky because I purchased probably 95% of my local procurement, not including milk, and comes through the Worcester Regional Food Hub. So I'm really lucky to have that resource. If I didn't, it'd be a real full-time job sourcing local, quite honestly. And I had to work with Mrs. Hainig, the teacher who knows much more about what's going on with the students in COVID. I know that the students that were able to come, we had the boxes all set, and she said, here's your window to come and pick them up. And for students who could not pick them up for any reason, she personally delivered them. So she and I were, I ended up not needing to do that, but that's how we made sure that all the students had them. That's the other reason for providing those tools. I didn't want to make any assumptions about what somebody has at home and what they don't have at home, besides an oven, which is really and a knife, which is really the main things that we asked of them, if that helps.
Do you think that you will continue this, like, I'll say post-COVID, but when schools return in person, do you think you'll continue the Zoom cooking class kind of thing? Because it seems such a great idea.
That's a good question. And like I said before, I love what Project Bread's been doing. So whatever the reason would be, I could see us doing that again. Yes. I plan to resume the in-school events, but if we can't do that in the fall, then now that we have one under our belt, we would probably try to do one of these a month, at least until we're back and we can do the in-person ones. And then, having done it once, I could see many applications for doing the Zoom class.
Awesome.
It seems like a great way to focus on cultural inclusivity in the classroom too, because you can really highlight different cultures, celebrate different foods,
Yeah,
each month.
it is. We've had some really interesting discussions in the class, I jotted a couple things down. Mrs. Haining always has a theme. So when we do squash, we usually do like a Native American history, sometimes particular to this area, and terminology and culture and food. We did, like for kale, we did, what is a superfood and it's not only kale chips, there's a lot of cultures that have been cooking kale for a long time. Kale chips just came along recently. So I tried to kind of, get away from that a little bit and make it a more cultural thing. When we did strawberries, we had a very interesting discussion on like agricultural work and immigration policy. And even that, I was like, whoa, I'm not really prepared for all the questions that the students had. But that's the exciting part, is we use the Harvest of the Month item as a jumping off point for anything we can, basically.
Ellen, do you go to the class?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I should say, if there's other food service directors on here or cafeteria people who are like, how do you have time to do this? I should say that I get in trouble a lot, okay? But from my supervisor, but I have support from the teachers. I have support. Now we've built so much support that I don't get in trouble as much. Let's put it that way. But I know that what I'm doing is important. I know that it's meaningful to the kids. We can see the enthusiasm. So I'm just going to keep doing it.
Awesome.
It's good trouble, like John Lewis.
Yes,
said,
exactly. It is good trouble. Exactly.
Always the most creative educators and school staff that get in trouble. So keep doing it.
Yeah. My teacher partner gets in trouble too. So we fit well together.
And I think this is a great example of, as we mentioned, a lot of the curriculum that we've offered previously, and that is some of the stuff that'll certainly be offered in the fall, has more of an elementary focus. And that's often what people think about with Farm to School, but we really are excited to be exploring how to make more connections to middle and high school classrooms as well. And so really, thanks for the inspiration, Ellen, for thinking about all the different ways that that's possible. As you said, like a marketing class might not be people's first thoughts of like, which teacher should I reach out to? So I think that's part of the beauty of Farm to School and with Harvest of the Month, that you really could make connections to just about any discipline.
Right.
So I want to open it up if there's like other questions, either for Ellen or for us more generally about the program. And yeah, if there's any other like educators on the call, feel free to identify yourself in the chat or just speaking.
Can you guys talk about the new Harvest of the Month items that Teresa was going over, and how is it going to be an either or because it's only 12 months, or are you pulling some off, or what?
Do you want to talk about it, Simka? Or?
Sure. Yeah, so no, the idea for those is that they're like supplemental. So in part to give you some flexibility if you are struggling to make one of the existing ones work. But what we've decided to do for those is you'll find what in the like promotional materials that there isn't necessarily there isn't going to be a month printed on the poster, for example, which is the one place where we have previously like had a specific month identified. So because for some of those, they're like storage crops or things that really are available over time. And we're hoping that this is a tool for you to be able to feature them when it works for you. And, you know, ultimately, like our hope is that, as you said, Harvest of the Month is kind of an entry point. And so if what you can do is like source tomatoes in September, great. But once you figured out how to source tomatoes, like maybe you'll also do it beyond September. So I think the idea for these is similarly like that there is promotional materials provided, but a little bit more flexibility for when you would be featuring them. And the crops themselves are associated a little bit more with the season. So like herbs and salad greens might be something that's a lot easier to feature in the spring. So that's when we'll be particularly emphasizing some of the, and, you know, developing, for example, a family newsletter for kind of that time of year. But some of the other ones like dry beans, again, like our thinking is around winter because that's when it's harder to find some other crops, but you could serve beans any time of year. So yeah, and our hope also with this crop selection was to support schools and also offering more menu items that are culturally connected to their student population. So that's another focus of the resources that we're working on developing right now in terms of thinking about the recipes that go along with these and influence the crop selection as well.
Cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. Other questions? And we also, I think, have a few folks who have participated in the past, school nutrition directors or others. And so if anyone has anyone else who hasn't shared has insights they'd like to share, I just want to open it up if you'd like to offer any of your own experiences or, you know, honestly, things that have been challenging, because that's also really helpful for us to learn from and figure out how to tailor our support to make it easier for you guys to implement next year. Okay. Well, I want to reiterate that our staff is really available to support implementation. So be that helping you identify sources of the featured products where either direct from a producer, from figuring out how to source it through an existing distributor relationship or a food hub. And we can provide that kind of one-on-one support. That tends to be something that we work on more individually with districts because we can't offer one resource that's going to apply for schools in the Berkshires as well as it would for schools on Cape Cod. So really want to tailor that sort of support to wherever you're located and what your needs are as a district. And similarly, I think as we're expanding the educational resources, even if the school nutrition department isn't ready to kind of be a lead in participating on this, are working to support educators who want to incorporate elements into their classrooms as well. So that's another place where we just encourage you to be in touch, and we're happy to work with you to figure out the best way to do that in your own school. And you can, the signups are live. So if you have not yet signed up, you can do that at massfarmtoschool.org/HOTM. And again, that's where you'll be requesting any sort of printed materials that you might want. You're welcome to sign up and say you don't need any printed materials if that's the case. So again, we're offering these new crops. So even if you have like a stash of old Apple posters, there will be new things this year. Yeah, encourage you guys to reach out if you've got any other questions as you consider whether this is a good fit for your school. Great. Well, if there aren't other questions, just want to thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll be in touch again soon and have you guys all as participants in this next school year. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Okay, well, I'm gonna close it out.
All right, Simca.
Bye.